let's ask the first question that we get. I want to throw it out to you guys is, let's say that I know nothing about my candidate. It's not the former MP, or maybe it is even the former MP, and I just don't really know anything about them. And I just don't know where to start on finding out where the candidates stand on different issues. What do I do to find out where a candidate is really at on the issues I care about? Doug, why don't you go first?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm happy to. And that actually, when you asked that question, that reminds me, it was just 20 years ago where I had never voted before in my life, and I wanted to. I got it on my heart that I wanted to participate, and I was walking around, and I think you and I talked about this before, Fatine, where we were both kind of going, "Hey, this is a bit of a learning curve." So what we've tried to do on the National Leadership Briefing is to provide people with tools so that they can mobilize themselves quicker. So take baby steps moving forward and get engaged a little bit at a time, but familiarize yourself with the campaign trail and the terrain and the choices before you in such a way that that you can make an informed choice on election day. Well, this election coming up, we've actually put forward another tool that can help people do that. And if you look over my shoulder here, you can see there's a website called eDayCHOICE. And what's gonna be on that website for people to help them to make that informed choice is it's going to have the voting records of returning members of parliament, or incumbents as they call it. So if a member of parliament is putting their name up again to be reelected, and you kind of want to know if that person represents your views and values, at your fingertips, you're going to be able to see how they voted on different votes in the House of Commons, and you can see whether or not that's aligned with your views and values. Now, if you've got a candidate in front of you that is brand new, never been in the House of Commons before, there's also a section there that's going to have questions for candidates. So you're going to be able to look and say, okay, I'm really keenly interested in knowing where their mind's at on life issues. And then there'll be a list of questions that you can ask your candidates. And this is what we try to do, is just provide some tools for people so they can make that informed choice on eDay. And we really hope that this works out well for people and helps them do that.
Amazing. Okay, I got to ask this other question, and I'm, again, putting you on the spot here, Doug, because we get this question a lot right now. I didn't prep you for this one, but party versus candidate approach, right? Like, what does somebody do if they love the candidate? Like, this candidate is awesome. They represent everything I'm about. I'm excited about them. They've got a chance to win, but they are really uneasy about the party or the party leader or the way the party's going. How would you advise that person? Do they stick with loyalty to the candidate that represents their values, or do they go with the candidate or with a party? Let's talk about that.
Well, that's a great question, and we get that question a lot too. And this is what our advice has always been: if you've got a candidate that you like, that you feel represents your views and values, or at least is willing to represent your views and values as your member of parliament, and you want to vote for them, but you don't like the party, then you make sure that you get a commitment statement from that candidate that is very clear as to what it is that they're going to do in defense of your views and values while a member of parliament in that party. So in other words, we make sure that we are focusing on building relationships with the candidates and with the members of parliament so that they're strong enough so that when you look them in the eye and go, look, we can tell that you are a member of parliament in a party that doesn't necessarily represent our views and values. So I'm going to need to really double check with you that you're going to stand and defend things like my right of belief and freedom of religion. I'm going to really need you to commit to never impose the will of government on my authority as a parent to raise my kids the way they want. Now, if you drive that home with them and make sure that they're solid, then I would say that you could feel comfortable in voting for them. But sending somebody to Ottawa that's just going to bow to the will of the party leadership, if they don't represent your views and values, that's a bit of a waste of time.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Okay. So now I want to talk about return on investment of time and vote, because our viewers are smart. Okay. They don't want to waste their vote. They don't want to waste their donations. They don't want to waste their time. And so what is the highest, or I'll ask you, Emma, what is the thing that people can do at election time that has the highest return on investment if they want to volunteer?
Honestly, I would say it's phone calls. Calling into constituents, asking them whether that be voter ID, finding out are they going to be voting for this candidate or not, or just saying this candidate exists and we think that they're a great candidate for these reasons and you should vote for them. And phone calls are great because we have that gift of technology. We're given the ability to reach a mass amount of people in a very short period of time without having to drive around going door to door. It's at your fingertips, literally.
Okay. And you've probably made thousands of phone calls.
Yes.
Okay, Doug, what would you say? What's the highest return on investment if somebody really wants to get behind a great candidate, whether in their riding or riding near them?
Well, we've always said that we want people to do whatever they can do wherever they are with whatever they have. So, I mean, take a look at your inventory, but we also encourage people to go into elections with a group of people with you. Don't just think it's a one person thing. Just because you have one vote, that doesn't mean you have to go in alone. So we want you to build your sphere of influence and align yourself with other people that share your views and values, and then work together as a team. That magnifies. So if you've got one person, you get 1 times the results. If you've got 10 people, sometimes you get 20 or 30 times the results, because the team feeds off of each other. So going in alone, we don't recommend that, but going in as a team, that can really maximize the results for you.
That's amazing, Doug. And I've seen people do that. I had actually one of my friends in Northern Alberta, he caught on to this. Was probably about 10 years ago now. He literally brought 30 of his friends. It was right around 30. And they did this as a whole youth group kind of thing, and had pizza parties after. And actually that member of parliament ended up winning. That member of parliament actually attributed the win to this young group of young people. And guess what? That group of young people ended up going to Ottawa and getting to go right onto the floor of the House of Commons even before the government sat that year. It was in 2006. And so, yes, that's an incredible idea. And also, I want to say this, like I was a candidate last fall. I threw my hat in the ring, and go big or go home. But door knocking, I didn't realize how critical just that face-to-face contact with people really, really is, because again, the multiplication factor, friends tell friends, and a 5 or 10 minute conversation with somebody at the door can have a huge impact and a ripple effect over an entire network of people. And also people want to see that candidates and their teams are making that effort, are getting out and putting their feet to the ground. And now that the restrictions are starting to lift with COVID, there's more opportunity to do that. But I want to say this, door knocking is actually a lot of fun. Like that's where you just get to meet people face to face. You get to find out what's in people's hearts for their riding, their dreams for Canada. And it's a great way just to get to know the community as well. So what if you are in a situation where your MP represents your values, but they're so far out in the lead that it's like, it almost feels like to volunteer for them might not be the best use of your time, because they maybe really don't need it. So what would you do in that situation, Doug, if somebody really wants to make an impact for good in this election?
Great question, because that is really the case in a lot of these electoral districts. Now, this is a map here that of an electoral district, and this is an example in Nanaimo Ladysmith. Let's say that you're in Nanaimo Ladysmith and you're totally comfortable and your MP has got its way ahead, that person's way ahead. But you know what? Just across this border here, there's all these other electoral districts that maybe have candidates that need some help. And those individuals may also share your views and values, and you might want to help that. And I think that you and I talked about this before, where you could just get in your car and just drive and go looking, or you can plug into people like Youth 18 at For My Canada and look for ways that you can find out who needs help and where, and then mobilize people into those ridings to help those other elected or those other candidates that need the assistance the most.